What is going on, guys? I hope you're doing well. Today, I quickly want to make a video. I want to keep this short, simple, and hopefully very, very valuable on essentially how to look for a good quality game. Now, the more developed, the further along that a project is going to be, the more information it's going to have, the more gameplay it's going to have and stuff like that, which is what makes newer games, newer projects a lot more risky. But I'm going to be showing and walking you through some examples of a really, really good game like we've got right up here and a good project. And compare it to a really, really bad one. In fact, show you a straight up scam straight off the bat. Okay, so let's get straight into it. But first of all, this is just my opinion, guys. Don't take this as investment advice. You know, I am an infant in crypto. I consider myself to be fairly versed on just the basics of investing and spotting good things. But nevertheless, everything's risky. Always do your due diligence. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy me sharing my own experiences and opinions. So first of all here, we've got a game called Alluvium. Now, Alluvium, if we look at the stock price, so this is going to be the suspected scams that I was going to be talking about. So let's go here to Alluvium. So Illuvium has, I believe, like 15x or potentially more since it was created down all the way back here. And it's just been a pretty much straight trajectory up. Now, one of the major things that people forget when they just buy into the hype of crypto gaming and all this stuff is they see prices pump, they think that it's great, and they just keep buying it. They buy. They have no idea of what they're doing. And you've got to understand the basics of what crypto gaming is, what gaming is in general, because what goes into a good game is having a good gameplay loop, meaning there is something that keeps the player wanting to play more. If you are in Call of Duty, another game, whatever, the leveling up system, all those systems where you can level up your guns, your weapons, your armor, your player, your character, all of these things. These are all things that project a vision of the future into your mind where you just need to level up so that you can do this and unlock this. That's what keeps you hooked in. So if the game has a really, really good gameplay loop, that's going to be fantastic. Now, one of the difficulties is if it's a brand new game or a new project where people aren't actually playing it yet, it's going to be more and more difficult to predict. And that is why it's going to be more risky inherently to bet on those brand new projects. But there are still some things that you can look for. And this is exactly what I'm going to be looking for when I'm looking for games. Okay, so first thing to understand is when we're in the play to earn category, the first kind of 10 games, we can see Alluvium's in here, Sandbox, both things that I'm invested in myself. These are projects that are a lot further on. They've been around for a few years at least. I believe Decentraland's been around for like 4 or 5 years now. And so naturally, they're going to have a lot more content. They're going to have more gameplay available. Maybe they've got a beta or a soft launch, in other words. These are going to be really, really valuable tools, but they're not going to be where you see the ridiculous 10x's most of the time, not necessarily 10x, more like 100x, 1000x, all those crazy gains you see some coins making. Now we can see here, it's been a very, very bullish kind of few days / week for these coins because of the metaverse, the Facebook metaverse name change. And that's to be expected. However, if we project it into the future and we look at what's likely to happen, then the market cap that we've got for all of these combined is just nowhere near, the standard coins and stuff like this. So I predict that it's going to be at least $1 trillion. And so, to be honest with you, if you can pick the good projects here, even if they look like they're really high now, even if they're in that kind of top 10, they seem like they're not as attractive. You've got to understand how early we are to this whole movement. Okay. And so naturally, because of that, when a project is newer, it's going to have less gameplay. It's going to have less pieces of information that we can work off to make estimations as to the value or the quality of the game. So if we look at a good game, for example, Alluvium, straight on the website, very lovely art straight off the bat. If the game looks terrible, why would anyone play it? Even if you could do the whole play to earn thing, the main goal for me when I'm looking at things is obviously, we've got all the benefits of crypto gaming and the potential to earn real life money. But if the game plays really, really well as well, what do you think people are more likely to play well? A game that sucks to play, but you make money, or a game that's really fun to play and you can also make money? It's obviously going to be the one that's a good game. So that is the most important thing in being able to spot that. And art is a really, really powerful tool, as well as trailers and all this other stuff. Okay. And the team and all this sort of stuff. So let's quickly look at some of the trailer here. Let me just share my screen so you can hear the sound here. Just give me a sec. There we go. Okay, so you can see straight off the bat, basically, that this is incredibly high quality. It would take someone a very, very, very long time to create this if they weren't going to create the game. And if they were going to go to all this effort, they may as well just create an entire game. Now, this was not released until 2 days ago, I believe. And so if we look how that impacted the actual price here, we can see that I believe it did cause it to pump a little bit, but we were already kind of pressing all-time highs anyway. And so it's just more fuel to the fire. And what a lot of people are after is they're looking to get in here, or obviously ideally down here or something like that. And I'm going to go through some examples of basically just how to spot bad ones in just a second. We can see that this is very, very high quality. There's a good team here. I believe where are we going? Contributors. Okay, so you can see the history of the team. Have they worked on anything like this before? These are all important elements. This is something that you can screenshot right here. These are kind of the elements that I will be looking for. They don't necessarily have to have all of these things, but if they can have a lot of them, that's going to be ideal. Unique, what makes it unique? You need to have a unique game. Even if it's the same sort of concept, there needs to be something special about it. Otherwise, people would just play the version, the thing that it's similar to instead of the new one. A good gameplay loop, as I was saying, with leveling up and all this sort of stuff, that can be quite difficult to tell at an early stage and a pre-project stage. And so there are other elements in here that you can rely on instead. A soft launch, a beta version, and relying on feedback, essentially launching the game to get feedback from the players so that they can improve it. That's good for two reasons. Number one, they can improve the product based on what the players are saying. And also it shows a willingness to modify and change and continually improve based on what the players want, which is what all good quality games and sustainable good games in history have done. They've always worked with the players to improve the product. Having a good team, a good vision, marketing, communication. If you can't market the best game in the world, it's really not going to do very well. And that's okay. And if it was the very, very best, then it would probably still find a way. But most of the time, you're still going to need marketing. And so you need to be able to know how to spot that. And I'm going to make another video on exactly spotting the marketing in a little bit more depth. But things like art, like I'm mentioning here, having good trailers, having a community, which is the next thing down here. These are all hallmarks, in my opinion, of a really high quality game or a good potential game. You see this project's very, very large, got a lot of different people in here. And so, yeah, so very, very interesting. Now, again, Sandbox is another example of this. If we look here, let me just turn the volume down slightly. Again, if you're insight into the game, you can imagine with friends, like all the all of this sort of stuff. This is what you'd envision the metaverse to look like. And this is obviously going to be very, very intriguing to people. Now, another thing that you can do is you can look for the founders or the CEO. And in this case, this is the CEO of the Sandbox. And so this is a video. If you just search for their name in the YouTube bar, sometimes you'll come across real gems, whether it's an interview or a presentation. And even if it's not directly related to the game, it's not really that important, because in this particular example, Arthur Madrid is talking about the case for blockchain games, and he's demonstrating a very clear understanding of the benefits and all these sorts of things. That's valuable because we know that it's very, very likely he's going to be bringing those things into the project. Now, the interesting part, or the funny part, you could say, let's look at a really bad project. Okay, so if we were to go to the cryptocurrencies level and play to earn, let's scroll down to the bottom here. Just give this a moment to load. We scroll down to the bottom and we keep going. Eventually, on page 2, we will find BinaPet. I really don't know how to pronounce this, but let's just click on this right here. So I went through to their website, and if we look at how prices have been moving, we can see that it had this initial swing up and then rocketed down. This is very, very common to happen when a new thing is released in the crypto space. It will bolt up, it will come down, and it will kind of linger down here. And if the game is really valuable, if it's marketed well and it's actually of good quality and it's decent, then more than likely we'll see a second rise up here. Now, you often won't see that on something like Alluvium, but if we went back to the beginning of Alluvium, okay, so obviously if you look at it on the all-time chart here, it looks like there was nothing going on back here. But if we actually zoom in to what's going on, you'll see it's all relative, because we had this initial swing up, then we kind of went down, we kind of peaked above, but basically just stayed down, 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 down. And then what happened after that? We had this massive bull run. Now, the reason that happened is because what they were developing actually had value, and they were communicating that to potential buyers and people who'd be interested, the potential network of players. That's crucially important. Now, if we compare that to a BinaPet, for example, go through to their website. So the first thing that comes to mind here is the graphics and the art. You want to see some consistency in the art that we're seeing. Let's look at this, for example. It kind of looks like a Pokemon style piece of 3D art. And then we look at this dragon over here. See how the quality and the type of textures are a little bit different. Now, this caused me to go over to the Unity Asset Store. This is basically somewhere where you can download any 3D pre-made asset and just download it. And like you can, if you want to, in this case, what it looks like they've done is just stuck it onto a kind of 3D/2D image, or moving image, essentially. So they spent 44 euros and probably made a decent amount of money and just plugged it into an image. Do you really want to see that for a potential game that they're making? Because you can very clearly see that 99.9999999% that sure that this is not a real game. And this is a very obvious example. So sometimes you need to have a bit of a keener eye. But what this is doing is it's making people believe that there's a good game. But does it have any of the other elements from here that we were looking at? Does it have a good team? I can't seem to find any team here. They're not really communicating anything. I won't go on their socials right now just for ease, but you can pretty much see immediately there's very little that they're offering here. Now, sure, it could be really early in development, but still, why wouldn't you put your team on there? Why wouldn't you show something unique off? There are going to be loads of these guys where they're just trying to make a quick buck off you, and they are not interested in actually creating a good game, and they have no intention to create a good game. And so be aware of this, okay? Because you want to be able to spot the good things. And this is one of the dangers of going with these kind of newer projects. That is part of the risk that is associated with it. And so again, when I am looking at these things, I want as many things to line up as possible. I'm not too worried about necessarily getting the next 100x, 1000x in like 10 minutes or something ridiculous. I'm looking in the future a decent way out. And that doesn't mean bad gains. That just means, in my opinion, safer gains and a more predictable, I guess you could call it income, but more of just a capital appreciation. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of an insight into, a good game versus a bad game, and just some, surface value stuff. I will make another video going into a lot more depth in this, and specifically all the little nuanced things, going through their social medias and looking at the dates when certain things were released. That will be a little bit more advanced, but I will make a video on that in the future. If you'd like to see that, let me know in the comment section below. Or if there's any other video you'd like me to talk about, or a coin you'd like me to analyze, anything like that, then please do let me know in the comment section below, and I will get onto that for you. But take care, guys, and I will see you on the next video.